So yeah, before we begin, I just wanted to, I think a lot of us want to also understand what does production design mean. And even I don't know actually, even though I've been working for 15, 20 years, I don't know how to exactly define it. But as an actor, what I've felt about production design is that it's not just the background or the sets that people create, that designers create. For me as an actor, the best production designers create an environment where truth can be created. They give us space to play as actors, and again, these two are two of the finest in the country. And I think all the other things that they also do are inspired and come from that artistic expression, and I will later on also want to understand how it has kind of inspired the artistic journey and vice versa. So yeah, what I want to begin with actually is if either of you or both of you want to just kind of take a stab at what do you think production design is.
Hi, everyone. Hi. I think, the way I have always understood it, it's there in the phrase itself, in the name. It's the design of a production. So, whatever the production be, whether it's film, theatre, anything, the entire design. And technically, everything you see on screen falls within the paradigm of production design. So, it's not just the sets, which covers a lot, but it would therefore even be the costumes and the light and the makeup. We tend to concentrate more on the set, but yeah, to answer that, it's the design of a production.
French word is mise en scène, right? For that, like, it's basically everything else, it's everything that
or
you do.
scenography, I guess, scenography or mise en scène. But it's also like the look and feel and the texture and the palette of a film. So in a sense, when it's a film about reality, if you come out saying, but who did that, there's no production design, it's the best compliment for a production designer, because it means it looks supernatural. And obviously if it's magic realism or a film that is set to look almost hyper real, then obviously the idea is that it has a fantasy, or a fantasy, then it has a fantasy element. So there you don't go into the reality. So it's sort of what the takeaway of everything you see visually. And as Tini said, the lighting is a huge component of it, because we provide a lot of practical lighting to the DP, to the director of photography, to light the set and give it the tonality that they take from there.
I have to say, production designers work the hardest on any film set. Somebody's nodding, because they have to be up before anyone else, so they basically don't sleep. They just party all night and then they go on set. They have to be out before anyone else, and they, within hours sometimes, have to construct not just a facade, but a workable facade, which can move, which people interact with. And I've been fascinated how they're like magicians. They like kind of bring up stuff from nowhere and then they collapse it out of nowhere as well. And any off day that we have as actors, the production designers are working, because the next day's shoot we are setting up. So I have great respect for them. Anasuya has been a friend of mine for many years, and actually she's production designed a few films of mine as well.
That's true.
Now we've acted together as well, so it's come full circle. What I wanted to ask is, how did you guys come towards, say, art itself or production design? How did that kind of journey happen, that connection?
So I started by working on a film called In Which Annie Gives It Those Ones, and the way that it was split up at that time, now you have a first AD, a second AD, and a third AD. In that film, it was done a long time ago, before we kind of incorporated all that in the scene here. And so Pradeep Krishan, who's the director, had two ADs. He had one AD for camera and sound, and he had one AD for production design, hair, makeup, wardrobe, all of that. And the production designer was Arundhati Roy, who was an architect by profession. And the idea of the production designer hadn't been that omnipresent. It was more like an art director. So you kind of art direct. As a production designer, you look at the entire arc of the story, you give people tools and things around their environment that you don't even sometimes see on camera. So I think because it was a very, very low budget film. It was made for almost nothing. It was set in a school of planning and architecture. It was my first film, and I was very happy to work like 20 hours a day because I'd just come out of film school in Jamia, and basically because she was designing it with two other architects, they would take everybody who would come and do work on it, and I kind of went into it. After film school, I just got attached to that idea of production designing from there, because we were basically, after shoot hours, were spending all our time working on the set for the next day. So it kind of was an organic, without thinking about it, it kind of just went into my genes, and I was always interested in architecture.
Wonderful.
For me also, it was pretty organic actually. I grew up and studied in Calcutta. I studied literature actually in Jadavpur University, and hadn't quite, I guess I lacked a bit of strong focus, hadn't quite zeroed in on that this is what I want to do. My older brother was already working in film, so it was something I was attracted to. And I did want to act, but that wasn't really picking up. So then I thought that, okay, I can AD, there's so many other things that I can do, and I guess one thing led to another, one film to another, and I found myself working at a junior level in the art department. My first film in the art department was Midnight Children with Deepa Mehta.
You acted and worked.
Acting was way before in Calcutta, and that film we shot in Sri Lanka for over 6 months. So I kind of see that as my film school stint for production design, because I went in not knowing anything, wanting to leave in 2 weeks, but I stayed all 6 months, and I guess came out feeling confident enough that I know this work, and yeah, then I just started doing more and more work. And for me, I think it was something I stumbled onto. Like when I first came to Bombay from Calcutta, if someone asked me what is production design, I didn't even know the term. I didn't know it. So, but I realized one fine day that, okay, I suppose I'm a production designer now, and that's really how it happened for me. And I quickly understood that it was one of the most satisfying departments in a film, because the same thing that makes it exhausting and it's brutal hours, like you said, we are there before everyone, we leave after everyone, but you kind of get to, I'm not sure control is the right word, but I guess, yes, also control so many aspects of what goes onto the screen. There's so much of detail, and we work with very big teams and different karigars, and there's so many people. And I never went to film school, I studied literature, so there was also the initial years of a classic imposter syndrome, where I kept feeling very nervous that one day I'll be caught, because am I even a designer? What? But slowly I realized that we work together with a team, and everyone is bringing in a skill set. So there are of course many areas that I personally lack in, but it's classic teamwork basically. Everyone brings in their skill sets, and yeah, I spent so many years doing production design, and eventually in the last couple of years things did take a different turn. But even when we had a kind of a production design session to prep for today, yesterday, with our friend Risha, who's like,
I was just going to introduce Risha Shetty,
Yeah.
who's also a production designer in her own right.
she's
and
doing a projection here.
amazing projections.
And while I was chatting with the both of you yesterday, I'm definitely not ready to say bye to production design for good, because it's another kind of experience, and you're constantly learning from others.
Yeah.
There's what you bring to it is important, but I think that's negligible compared to what you absorb from everyone else there.
That's very beautifully, yeah, you were saying something?
No, I was just thinking, when we were putting these images together last night with Anasuya, and we were bringing in some examples of work that she had done on Ray, or work that I'd done on Darjeeling. We were having this production. I realize you enter so many people's worlds. You enter a mental hospital, you enter a train, you enter somebody during the period of partition. You go into all these worlds that you then kind of start almost like you research, you study, and you start imagining those people. And I think the real beauty of production
Sounds a lot like
design.
acting, actually.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the real
Yeah.
beauty of production design is when you enter a world of a school teacher in the 50s, and enter a world of a school teacher in the 80s or in 2000 or today, and you realize how different these worlds are in these different time periods. Because in a way, film influences what is going on and vice versa. Really, the times influence film. And you're looking at these newspapers that somebody who's a school teacher would have read or kept. So you're kind of entering these worlds, which is, I think, the beauty. And then you have to obviously make it happen with like 100 people or 5 people or 400 people and build the set, and either build a set or go into a location that already exists and transform it in 5 minutes, basically.
Pretty much. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful actually. Like it's what you guys are saying is kind of underlining what I've been also understanding about film in the last few years, where it's not just about cast versus crew or all these things. It's like a bunch of artists who are coming together to make work. And same thing that you're saying, like entering the imagination of a character, entering the space. And so it's very interlinked. Again, as an actor, I realize how interlinked production design is with acting in terms of, say, creating props as well, like, you know, things that the character uses. I'm an actor who likes to kind of have the props from beforehand, so I get used to it. And again, like production designers also who understand this will give me my props, will give me my spaces to play around in, to make it more lived in and more real in that respect.
I'm going to interject just because you said props, and because the detail and with the excitement that production design team gets into for these props, I don't think any of us have ever handed an actor an empty wallet, right? So you kind of detail out what would go. No one is seeing it. The audience will never see. It's not for that. There's so much that we don't eventually see in the film, but it's for us. It's for us to kind of, film is an illusion we create, right? So we kind of try to make the illusion so tight that it never breaks, even for an actor stepping in to do the scene that day.
That's very beautiful. We make an illusion so tight that it never breaks. It really kind of goes along with how I think of acting as well. So I'm really excited about this because I feel I'm going to learn so much about production design and the art of visual storytelling. So I know you guys have some images and some pictures you want to talk about. Should we jump into that?
Maybe the
Yeah.
Risha, you want to go back to the palette?
So what we did basically yesterday when we were sitting and hashing out what we'll chat about today, we thought we'll just take snippets of over the years. Aradhana's body of work is massive as well. To just take certain snippets of how we prep, how we treat a script from script to screen, right? So this is from a project of mine called Ray. It was an anthology on Netflix a couple of years back. I had worked on one of the stories, and it was about the protagonist was depressed in a very dark space, lonely, isolated. So these are, first we of course read a script, and then we attribute a kind of color palette that we want running in the whole story. So the minute we are talking about something lonely and isolated, that's where we use a lot of blues, as you saw previously. Then the film goes into the character has to be admitted into a mental hospital eventually. So these are stuff from the prep. We first do a research, pretty intensive research of seeing real images from real spaces like that. So it's learning that authenticity and then marrying it to our imagined colors and making it also cinematic, true but also beautiful to watch. So these were some things that we put together. Then we go into, slowly edge into the real work after the basic research and imagination. And of course, all of it happens in collaboration with the director, with the cinematographer, because everything is interlinked. I know we have different departments, but everyone is dependent on each other because the colors are also in the clothes and so on. So then there's different ways of doing a flow plan. This is like a walkthrough set that I had built from scratch. So, and you do all of this just so you can give it to the rest of the team. Everyone is on the same page. And this is what we eventually built and shot in. This is one part of it.
So you have to be an architect, an artist.
Yeah, and one person can't be everything. So
a builder.
then we had a ward. So these are like reference images which we put together, then we create something.
So the takeoff point is the script, right? The script is the takeoff point for all these things.
Always, yeah, absolutely. This the story and the script.
But the script only says probably he walked into the ward and lay on a bed. You discuss the color palette actually over a period of time because you want to show, like when we did Fire and Earth, in Fire it's kind of maroon and orange and very kind of warm tones, whereas Earth was much more kind of green and pink, like the Parsi colors interspersed, like the Parsi household. So you're sort of constantly also suggesting to the director, and the director suggests back to you things that you might bring from your research, and then vice versa. They will come and say, what about this? And later we'll show you actually the kind of props that are really important, which are action props, which are kind of, we will delve into in a bit.
And the colors also, it's so much about we're trying to show what a character is feeling, thinking, just with use of colors.
Subliminally, actually, you're kind of trying to guide the look and feel through the color and the lighting without it being in your face, but tonally influencing it. And everybody knows, that
mood.
blue is a mood, basically.
Someone had once told me that in the fast food industry, they always use red and yellow.
Yes.
That's why McDonald's or KFC, and so it's not something we know, but it's working. Like, I guess it makes you, I don't know, greedy
It's
for
also,
unhealthy
but also
food.
eye-catchy.
Yeah,
like
immediately.
Immediately. Like you notice it on a brown street, you'll notice the yellow. That's partly also why they're doing that.
Yeah. Risha, you can just go through it. And then this is what we built. This is the stills from the show, So that was all the prep and the research, and then we went into the build where it was a studio build basically. There was nothing, and then we created all these corridors pertaining to everything that we'd researched and logged in before. And this we included because this was, so we obviously do a very extensive location scout, or what we call a recce, where before filming we go to each space that we are going to situate each scene in. So this is just from a film scout that I was doing where we were, this was in Japan, and we were checking out the locations and then kind of doing quick sketches to decide what it would be afterwards. So, we did the scout when there was no snow, but we would be going back to film when there was going to be snow. So a couple of images like that, we added those like lampposts, electrical cables. There's a few. So that's why it says now and the proposed look. Risha, you can show the rest of that.
This is a film you worked on recently, right?
Yeah, this is One Day it was called. It's not out yet.
Secret Vault Pen.
There's your vault.
Yeah. So we all, obviously when we are building a set from scratch, so either we build a set or we go into a location, we alter that location as Anasuya said, or we create a big set into a given space. So this is a set from scratch. We built it in Kuala Lumpur, and it's meant to be a set for this film Dawn. And Dawn, because it's a kind of remake, we wanted to, when we made it, we wanted to show Dawn as an international Dawn, that he has a secret vault, and in the secret vault, it's circular in nature, and he goes through all these kind of gadgets and gizmos to get into it. So on the floor plan, Richard, go back to the first one. So this is the here.
Yeah.
So there's one is the floor and one is the ceiling. So one thing to keep in mind is that we always have to give a kind of source light, which then the director of photography can use as his lighting. So here what I did was I took the floor and made it kind of black and silver and created an acrylic ceiling with the same line and kind of lines going concentrically outwards, so that it didn't look like we are just using it for the DP, but that the ceiling itself became like a feature in the design.
DP is the director of photography, the cameraman.
Yeah, so basically the ceiling then becomes a part of the design, even though it's actually a tool for him to be able to light up. But if you just put an acrylic sheet, it looks like people like us would be like, oh, they just put an acrylic sheet. It's also designed in the same way to mimic the flow. You can. this is the corridor leading up to this next one is about materials. So building materials, you have to go to the director, in this case it was Farhan Akhtar, with what you want to use as your material reference for the build. What do you want the wall to look like, what do you want the floor to look like, what do you want the furniture to look like, so you go into that. There's one more, I think.
The texture of it.
The texture of it. Then in that wall, there are obviously a bunch of things. He's stolen, he's got money, he's got cocaine. For cocaine, you wanted to show that he had a logo, which was the scorpion logo. So wherever you saw it in the film, you knew that this scorpion logo is the cocaine brown packets from Dawn. You start making the association of it. Then the other thing that we did with him
Do
is
you make fake money as well?
Yes, you make fake money,
so much,
and just on an aside, to make fake money, you need a letter saying that you're creating fake money, because basically it's illegal to create fake money. So you have to say what the purpose is and get a police clearance on creating a huge amount of counterfeit, basically. So you create all this fake money, and because we wanted to show him as an international Don, he's always got the dollar or the pound or the baht, and only when he's Vijay in the film, which is when he's in Bombay, does he have the rupee. But also in this film, we said he's such a good international Don, and he's got so much in his vault, that we decided to put in a lot of art, like all the art that had been stolen over the years, like the Scream had been stolen at one point. He has all that, so he's also the stealer of art. So you kind of, it doesn't say so in the script, but you want to create more than just money and brown packets with scorpions on it. You want to create the vault so that you get that look. This is going in. These are the kind of gizmos to go in, and if you look at the inside of the vault,
who makes the gizmos? I'm kind of curious about that.
Who makes the gizmos?
Because you need scientists as well. You need like some sort of programmers who understand how these things work as well, right?
So we get the gizmos made very often from somebody who kind of can create these gizmos for us for film, and they have to be operational. That's the most important. Many of them need to really work, and they need to work fast, because you're taking seconds of screen time. So that actually has to, you almost have to do it, and sometimes it's very jugaru. You have somebody,
always,
but in Dawn we did some really good ones actually, which was not so jugaru, but you almost have to get someone to kind of, as he puts his hand on, there are two men trying to open the door, basically, like with two fishing tackle lines or something, which you don't really see, but in fact sometimes it's very much hand in glove with a kind of quick methodology.
Yeah, it's one new story. This film we did called Catchsticks, where our really good friend Devika Dave was production designer, and my very good friend Sumit, who's here somewhere, had used up all the rainwater, and it was supposed to be rain on my head for that shot, and we had somebody using a contraption, like the watering can, like with the rain falling on my head above the shot. It looks like I'm in the rain, So a lot of, it's all magic actually.
Yeah.
It's constant cheating, basically.
Yeah.
Clever cheats.
Yeah. So you can see the ceiling in here, and it's got the strips, so that you basically don't realize that it's actually just a cheat for lighting, but it actually looks like the ceiling. So below there are these bags. I don't know if you've seen the film, but there are these multiple bags that you want to go to that image with these ones, and the reason we create obviously a glass oriented table for it is so that you as an audience can see that he's switching one bag for the next, and he's got these identical briefcases that he's kind of playing with in the film. Okay. So this is normally when any production designer, Anasuya or Risha or I get a script, how do you break down that script? Like, how do you read it? So I personally read it once just for the story, to see whether one wants to do it, whether it grabs you, whether you can do it, whether you can do justice to it, and sometimes you reread it. And the third time, or the second or third reading, you start marking it out, and what are the things that are really important to design is whether it's an interior or an exterior, whether you're shooting at day or night, which is back to the idea of lighting, where the
This
location.
is Darjeeling Limited?
This is, oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
This is this film called The Darjeeling Limited. It's directed by Wes Anderson. And here, in this particular scene, so you kind of decide, you have different tools. I color code it. I'm like, for me, every time I see yellow, I know it's interior, exterior. You know what the location is, you know if it's day or night, and you want to know what the set dressing is and the vibe, and then the action props, which are props that, like this microphone is an action prop today. Well, this is set dressing, but if Tanmay starts drinking water, then it becomes an action prop.
You're doing a...
So it should be drinkable water.
Yes, but anything that you do an action with.
We actually did a martial arts web series here, which Risha and Tini Anasuya both worked on, and there were some actors who thought action props were props that were used in the action sequences. so yeah, just adding an actor.
So, and then we just show you very quickly the examples. We can run through when it's interior, exterior. So up top, obviously it's interior, you're in a more confined space. You need to treat your design in that tight or not so tight space. When you're in the exterior, you need to obviously, in all of it, you need to look at the foreground and background to create depth. But here in particular, you kind of take in the environment. So the interior is on top and obviously the exterior is below. And then the next one is day or night. If you are shooting at night, you very often need a light source that you need to facilitate the scene with the actors, and then obviously in the day, you need to look at points that are like more visually visible, like the trees that break the scape. This is just one example, but we thought we'll share it with, yeah. Then Risha? Yeah. So this is all the set dressing, like in the earlier film on Ray.
Can you tell us a bit about what's the difference between production design, art direction, and set dressing? Is that too complicated?
I would think production design is it covers everything. It's the all-encompassing design, and then it goes into specifics. Art direction we associate mostly with build,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
then often we get in an art director who is different from a production designer, who is only concentrating on the construction. So say we are doing multiple things in a story, but there are only 2 builds, the art director likely won't get into the other things.
No.
And they'll just do the build.
In the ideal world,
Yeah. In the ideal world, but we all end up doing everything.
Yeah.
And then set dressing is, you said production design, art
Yeah,
direction, and
set
set
dressing.
dressing. Yeah. And set dressing is, actually that's a very, very key part of it, where you've built it or you've done the work, even if it's not a build. Say it's this room, we've had to paint floor, whatever. And then to dress it. Like as she pointed out, if the
detailing.
scene is a talk at MOG on Sunday and someone needs to dress it, they need to remember to bring the cloth, the table, the tray, the glasses, the water, make sure to have drinkable water in case Tanmay drinks some water and so on. Yeah.
and here if you look at it, basically all of this, so the top 2 are created in a train. So all the kind of, in this particular case, we stripped the train, and so everything there is set dressing. Every single thing inside it is done by us. So you create the mahal, the vibe, and you go down to the last plate, the last detail, and in the one on the right, you decide on what. The director will say, I would like to have a sky, a ceiling which represents starry night. Then you look within the palette, within the design, within the sort of references that you're using in the film, which on the train we use a lot of elephants. So for this we worked with 40 or 50 miniature artists to create the starry night with just elephants and banana trees and stars in the sky, and made this 40 to 50 feet miniature long roll in Kishangarh, and then had it fixed onto the ceiling.
That's another pieces for that.
And then on the one below it's in a village in Rajasthan where there's a discussion because this child has passed away, has drowned, and it's in the sort of vibe of the village there. And on the right we actually built this entire set in Udaipur airport. That's the other thing. You know, many people come before we come. So like the director, the actors, everybody's dates come into play, and then they're like, oh, just build 5 sets or 3 sets in a day in Udaipur airport. So we like built a loo, and we built this other area, and you take, because it's convenient to shoot on that day and every minute is time, so you might actually totally conceive a set and install it in a day. So this is all set dressing. This is just ideas of how to think about set dressing. There's a train, a little railway station in which we had some kids and they were going to play with some toys. And we were in the background. And we realized that you can't just buy toys and just plonk it into them. And one day when we went on our recce, I found that these kids had made not only those cycle wheel toys, but all these little toys. And so we said to them, we'll just give you give us a price and you make us 20 toys. And then, I don't know, they got like 100 or 200 rupees per toy. And when we came back, we had like 200 toys. Because basically they all brought their like tin cans and Fevicol sticks. And the idea of a charpai. And so we got all the toys that kids would play with in that railway station rather than going to like a Toys R Us. So it has to be appropriate to the location and the story, of course. And this is more sort of set dressing with the main characters. This is just examples of a 35-foot cross on the top of a hill, which is like a big build, versus a drawing on a school chalkboard. So the difference is that you go that big, and then you also go
smallest detail.
That small to the smallest detail of what is on the blackboard. And here similarly, you know, like whether you melt the candles to look like they've been there for a while, or create fiberglass, a CC in the middle of where you're trying to make a makeshift church, or a bell that chimes that it actually works, or take a sari and put a cross on it. So it's all these little details that you do, which may or may not get seen, but we do them. The other thing that is very important is obviously the signage and how you use signage on the street and versus fonts, yeah. So this is an example of that. And of course you have fun, like we called it Roman fireworks, which is like one of the producers' names, and so you also can have fun and intersperse things like that.
Yeah, we end up using crew names.
Yes, all the time. Two people are getting married and you use 2 names on the crew, like so-and-so wed so-and-so. So you have a lot of fun as well. I mean, just fictitiously.
Sometimes mistakes are made.
Yes. Then they happen also. So these are the action props. So any prop that, as we spoke earlier, that where an action is created, that is written into the script. Has to be thought about very carefully, because that the director has written in, whether it's a raft or whether it's a feather or whether it's a shaving foam and the shaving brush, those details, or the box with the danger sign, those are props that you have to really create thoughtfully, even more thoughtfully, because that really shows up in the action with the actors.
And those we take extreme care of, because we are often filming for a month, 2, even more, and once they've been seen, sometimes we make duplicates of the important action props, and they're all like put away in a peti separately. Never, they cannot get lost or damaged.
And
It's
I'm the kind of
very
actor who's
important.
like, give them to me, I'll take them home, I need to make them mine.
Oh, and we never let the actors take them.
Also, just to let you know that we don't shoot, taking off from there, we don't shoot chronologically. So when Anasuya is saying that those action props, because you can't have an action prop that is, which sometimes goes from one scene to the other, say like an actor's cigarette case, they're personal props. That can't get lost because he can't switch unless he's meant to switch. So these are some breakdowns that we do. This is a livestock one, no? Or is it the livestock?
Cattle
So
herd,
cattle
it's
herd.
like-
So basically we break down everything scene by scene so that we normally have an animal wrangler, which is in the best case scenario. The animal wrangler has to produce pigeons or snakes or dogs or flies or bees or whatever
make
it
them
is.
act also.
And make them act and all of that. So we normally make a list for which scene we need what livestock. And so, and if the livestock needs to be decorated, like in the next frame, there is this cow at the bottom left of the frame that we saw all over, that they were putting mehendi on these cows, and we wanted cows to have that. Then they have to be prepped. Those animals have to be prepped to have the mehendi put in advance.
It's like animals also going in for hair and makeup before
fully.
acting.
Or if you want to have a tiger and you know that you can't get permission to shoot with a tiger, then you have to fly in a tiger that is animatronic from whichever part of the world. This one came from LA so that he could move his whiskers. I mean, it's crazy what you do. And on top, we wanted to show that up this hill, there is a kind of, that is the donkeys that take the luggage up. So all these little details you need to sort of think about way in advance. And similarly for vehicles. This is the train that we had. We got 10 bogies, an engine, a flatbed, and 8 bogies. 4 came from Northern Railways, 4 came from Northwestern. Then we had decided on a color palette, and for the engine we decided to paint it with truck painters. All the body we decided to work with stencil artists and lettering painters and miniature artists. And then create this. The palette was obviously similar, as we said in the beginning, we chose the color palette. And then if you look at the thing on top, on the left, so the train can only go on a track. The director wanted to shoot on a moving train, but he also wanted to shoot where the train track wasn't. So we decided to buy, each bogie is 70 feet long, so we bought a portion of a bogie. We had it sliced in half from one of these rail auctions, and we put it on a used to call it a train on a truck. So we got a low loader. We transported this train so that it could drive across India wherever we wanted it to go, and we mimicked the inside of the compartment to cheat it to look like you were shooting from a moving train, but of course we were shooting off the track. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I was trying to see how to explain it. And these are the other vehicles that we use. Risha, it's actually my phone. I just realized, thank you. I just realized. And then here is we went from vehicles to extras, and how each extra, if there's a crowd of 100 or crowd of 200.
Extras are actors who also are part of the background in some ways.
Yeah, background actors.
Yeah, they call junior artists. The terminology keeps changing according to how woke we are.
Yes. And so for instance, it's very important that if you're at a railway station, which is at the bottom right, that the guys are also carrying luggage. It's not like they are all like standing there with nothing, or they're school kids, they all have satchels or bags or water bottles. So the extras also help you create the scene for a shoot.
And those luggage also you'll have to add some weight, because otherwise you've given a really big suitcase to someone which is empty, and they are walking in the background right behind the main actor, swinging it and going, and that doesn't work. So then you stop and you're like, yell at someone to put things in it, to wait, and yeah.
This is more scenes of like creating a marketplace, but we have extras, we have props, we have like the feelings, signage, everything is in here. Sort of, if you look at it carefully, it's all being created. Yeah, this is in a temple. All the women are carrying their own thalis. They do the altar. So this is actually kind of when we started to do the train. We obviously didn't come to the pattern right away. We experimented with a lot of patterns, and we were like, should we use this, should we use this color palette. Every single thing inside the train was built by us. It was also soundproofed. All the cabling, all of that had to go unnoticed, and the camera had to be rigged on the ceiling so that you don't see it because it's only 10 feet wide. You need to, into your design, put in something for the camera, and into our design, if you look at these metal breakers in the, on the right where the artist painter Praveen's head is, you see this brown strip, then you see a blue strip, and you see this metal. The metal is in the design with just screws and nut bolts, so they're like strips. So you can peel off bits of the wall, because the minute you peel off the wall and you start repainting it, you see the joint. And so as a device from the beginning, the production designer was Mark, and we worked out a scene here that we could actually strip it out and strip it in within 5 minutes. So within your early design, you do something like that. And then obviously you create models so that you can pass it on to the team. These are the different things we experimented with. The last one we used at the train at the end, and then we took morph from this. So you start really playing. This is, like I came in wearing this skirt, which is from Anoki, and we showed the director also 20 different pieces of fabric, but we thought for texture, for doability, we'll go with this skirt, and from the skirt then we created this palette. For the curtains, for the seat covers, it's all block printed. This is more prep work, before going into the train. And this is that ceiling thing we were talking about, where all the artists were working on it, and then you saw it on the ceiling.
The sky.
The sky and the starry night. The body of the train and the other train, which is the Bengal Lancers. And that their motif was the tiger. And in the other one, the motif was the elephant. Oh, okay. So this one is one bogie, which has 9 sets. The sets have been compressed into 3x4 spaces. The shot is a one-take shot. It goes from the chapel to the tiger. It's like the entire story of the film going in one moment. And we had to create these miniature sets so that the camera could go from one with the actors. So it goes from literally the convent to the room to, if you've seen the Darjeeling Limited, it's like that, the shot which is without a break. It's like a 400-foot shot. More model making for that set and the set itself. But if you see proportionately, the bed is small, the seat of the airplane, you're kind of fixing in many things, and also between the sets there are these bifurcations which have to also be treated very well, because the camera is going to go into the, so where the Nehru portrait is a transition from one to the next. So we're just going into all these like minute details, but
these are the best. This is the making and the frame.
yeah. So here we are going to just introduce you into the idea of the black and white is always what is the scene while we are shooting, and the next image is always the frame. So if you look back, if you go back, Risha, this is the set, and you see the cutter, and you see the actor, you see the stunt people. You always see what's going on set, and then when Risha shows you, this is actually what you see in the frame on film, and we'll show you a couple of examples of this. So this is where we are on set. You see the actors, you see what's going on around, you'll see the director, maybe you see the production designer, and then you go into, this is the frame. This is what we create for cinema. And this is the chapel we're shooting, and you see the director, you see Wes, you see the AD, you see the way that the camera track has been laid, and then you see what actually you see on screen, which is that. And similarly here you see the track is following the train. You see the brothers, they're trying to get onto the train towards the end of the film, and then you see the actual shot that you see. So we thought we'll show you the mahal, our working drawings, let's say, our working atmosphere, and cut to the scene.
That was great. Thank you so much for that.
It's like a lot of, and these are just examples of set dressing, like the bangle, fire.
This is fire. Okay.
Yeah. So this is just examples of set dressing. So like you see Shamana and Nandita, but you see the bangles on the left, or the little details of set. You can go through this very fast, Risha. You see Matt Damon, you see this is also Bill, the house, and you see him working.
This is from the
Bourne
Bourne
Supremacy.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is like the run up to the Dawn song in Bapa Moria song, and all the kind of references. And here what we did actually in this Bapa Moria song on the left here is before we began shooting Dawn, maybe a few months before that, we went out on the real day of the Visarjan. Because to create those numbers, and we shot 5 different Visarjans all over Bombay. Mohanan sent crews, the DOP sent crews all over Bombay. Then we viewed that footage from the 5 real sort of Ganpati Visarjans, and we chose the one we liked, which was this one on the left. And then we recreated our 18-foot Ganpati from that Visarjan that we liked, because that kind of mass and the frenzy is very hard to get, and so we thought this is also kind of more reasonable way of doing it.
It's almost like extrapolating reality, right?
Yeah. The details on Bourne, like, and this is that, sorry, this was actually wrong. This one is the actual Ganpati that we then recreated to match the Ganpati. So, just so you know also that every time there's a song, there's a choreographer. I'm sure everybody knows that, but many songs take about 5 days to shoot if you have a decent budget. And very often the choreographer is like a parallel director for the song, and in fact is the one who's actually the one you're also discussing the look and feel. So Anasuya and I would then talk to the choreographer, who could be Farah Khan or Saroj Khan or Rajiv Surti. Many of the choreographers are very, you kind of choose the choreographer on the basis of the song. So we, in this Dawn, which is slightly unusual, we had 4 choreographers. We had Rajiv Surti, who's much more folksy for something like this song, and we had Farah Khan for the scene between Shah Rukh and Kareena. So each song is treated differently. That was in a closed space, this is an outdoor space, this needed a lot of instruments. He was very good at it. So you're having a parallel discussion as a production designer with the choreographer, and he sits next to the director to direct this. More set dressing.
Oh, then we finish the film stuff.
So yeah, actually this brings me to my next question also. Couple of questions actually for both of you. One is, how has moving to Goa influenced your art or your art practice? Has it?
Yes, certainly. From being involved with production design, like I said earlier, I didn't go to film school or art college or anything. But I think spending so much of my time and years in production design teams with so much art around me, it led me to start wanting to make my own art. This is 2 of that, that kind of piqued a curiosity in me to want to leave Bombay. I already had friends like say Aradhana who were living in a certain way, which I found very, very inspiring all those years ago when I met you for the first time through other production design friends. And I I think parallelly there were quite a few different thoughts that were running in my head. I was really enjoying the film work, but something in me was saying that I'd like to try, because it takes up a lot of your time and hours. You can't really do anything else. So I stayed in Bombay for almost 13, 14 years is when I felt that maybe I want this work, of course, and I'll keep coming back to it, but perhaps I can try creating.
And you weren't being able to make that much art at that point.
Not at all, really.
Yeah.
Like I tried, but when you're going in from one shoot to another constantly, and Bombay is very expensive, so you can't really drop the ball on, steady income and stuff like that. Goa is also very expensive now, but at the time maybe I felt differently, and that's why I wanted a different environment to see where I can take my art. I mean, can anything come out of it? Even perhaps not, I don't know. But
Was
something
nature
in
influence
me.
as well?
Sorry?
Was nature, being close to nature in Goa? Was
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what the calling was, and it's not a direct kind of influence like you're in nature and you necessarily
Paint flowers.
paint nature. I mean, not that you don't do that, but I think it's just a general mindset.
Environment.
Slowing down, more observational, and just observing more, learning to. Then you see there is truly that much to observe, of course. And I found then that even different disciplines of art kind of bleed into one another, and I started enjoying that quite a bit. And around the same time is when I got offered the part in The Shameless. And these are actually illustrations that I put together from during my prep time in The Shameless. So
yes, yeah.
I was then, and we were filming in Nepal, so some mountains,
I love these.
and I was practicing a lot of martial arts because I had to do some action in the film, and I started really enjoying how from my production design came my illustration. Then from my illustration, I was trying to develop my character as an actor, and I realized how blurred the lines are. Everything bleeds into each other, and because in the beginning we were saying it's all imagination based, and there can't be anything more imagination based than even acting, because you're creating a whole person simply from your imagination. So I was actually pulling out all my stops in terms of prepping as an actor, because I hadn't acted before or regularly really. So whatever I could think of, I was writing. I was practicing as a writer, as an illustrator, as a fighter. I was, and at the time I was realizing how much the years of production design are it's just there, I didn't have to consciously go on set being like, oh, I understand lighting, or I understand. It was a setting. I was actually just concentrating on my actor's prep, but it was just there, because as production designers we go so deep, as we've been sharing. There's so many details, all of that, and that was of course super fun to then kind of from making sets to now enjoying that set and understanding. My production designer for The Shameless, Parul Soon, also an incredible production designer, then really understanding certain things she's trying to like instigate, even because I've done that as a production designer. Like you place props for actors to feel a certain way, and
Find and have fun with.
And the colors, all our color palette work, and then to kind of walk into these spaces and know why it's been done, how it's been done for. It felt very close to a perfect collaboration.
I always say an actor is a hotel room, like where characters can come and live in, and it's very interesting for me to hear this from you as well about it. I mean, I was through the process, I saw it happening as well. But the detailing of the character work that happened must have also come from this idea of production design
and a habit of detailing, I think.
So you create this
you bring some of your detailing into it.
Absolutely. Like this on the left, this image, when the film got selected at Cannes, the first festival announcement poster was a visual of the film, which was this visual. And then I felt like I must, kind of make it mine, or do it my way with my kind of colors. And I remember my producer and director also saying that we should have made this the poster, I said, okay, we'll do it for us. We'll just make it look like the poster. And yeah, things like that. And I remember something you said reminded me now. A lot of people after the film used to ask me that since you've been a production designer for so long, were you going into the sets and did you have opinions there? I said no. Now I want to just enjoy it, because it's like it's so much hard work the back end. I know it, but here I am. What I have been able to give to performers who walk into the set, hoping that subliminally I can create, like, even as designers, we can bring in some ideas for the performer.
Or a moment of truth.
Yeah. And so for me as an actor walking into a set, I didn't want to now, it's given for me by an excellent production design team, and so I'm like, okay, it's now my turn to, it's like finding the clues that's been left, by the entire crew to see what more I can do even after my prep, but once I walk into the set, what more can I bring in now?
So connected to that, actually, I wanted to ask you one question. Like, you recently produced a show as well, A Suitable Boy. How did the production design that you've done over the years and your art practice kind of help you in production, for example?
So I think the thing that it really, firstly for A Suitable Boy, the one thing that I was very involved with was the locations before we started shooting. So we went across, we took apart the book, and while the screenplay was still being formulated in a way, but we had the bare bones of the structure of which about where each episode would be shot. We had some of the screenplay ready, and we started to look for locations. So everywhere from Lucknow to Kanpur to Calcutta to Delhi to Mirzapur, we went all over to figure out where we should locate A Suitable Boy. So there, I think my production design ability like when we were Recce, we did it the same way, except that in this particular case, I did it before anyone really came on board. I went with one person who was assisting me. Then we took the co-producer, then we went back with the director. We kept kind of figuring out, and for production design, what we haven't spoken about so much is that you have to also budget everything. Everything. So the budget is critical. In a way, it goes parallelly, unfortunately, with your design. You can get, for instance, in Bourne Supremacy, a huge budget and not use the entire budget, which is a luxury, or you sometimes get a tiny budget and you have to cut your coat according to your cloth. So for producing, you do need to actually work out every location, every breakdown. Obviously the producerial budget is huge compared to the production design budget, but it's kind of the same format. So instead of just doing the sets, you do costume design, and you work, obviously, I'm not a budget whiz by any chance. So you have a co-producer, you have somebody who's a line producer, so we worked with a big team of people to kind of figure out how much each day would cost. And the scale was very large. We had hundreds of people on set, but for Darjeeling, we had a lot of people in the art department, a few hundred. And so we also had a coordinating person. So you take that breaking down the budget scale on a very kind of financial level to the look and feel that you want to create by locations to kind of seed it. But as far as the production design team, it was a fantastic team. The other thing that I didn't get involved at all, they were amazing. The only thing that we did other than the locations was to give them a huge bag of research material. Because some of the research material, like the medal, or there's some things that are really taken from the book that exist in reality. And so a lot of that, and that went to hair, makeup, wardrobe, and design. Because the character, say, of Haresh is kind of based on a character that exists in some part, and so like images of the Bata shoe factory or images of a research on Haresh, which is a tiny bit of what Haresh is. But all that research material, of whether it's photographic or props, just got given. And then Stephanie and Tara and all did an amazing job.
Thank you. Are there other images you guys want to?
Is SADAK, no?
No, merchant
Merchant
images.
and then-
So in just in terms of this art practice that we spoke about, the drawings, like the drawings for Shameless, some things, come out of your film practice that are your art practice. And one of the things that came out is that I basically have a photo studio. So for many
Sorry, what is this image? This is
this is a
made?
photo
She's
studio.
explaining.
Oh, yes, okay.
So basically, there's a project that's now called the Merchant of Images. For shoots, you need to create people's. Sometimes you need to create portraits. Like Tanmay's grandfather might need to get created for the wall to show that, like his walls of his house might need a photograph that's taken in an old photo studio or set up to take. So the next image is something that we did for West is West. It's a film where Om Puri and Ila Arun are young and they get married, and this photo studio we set up for that, which in the next frame you'll see is an action prop in the film, because when she's deserted by him, she's kind of upset about it. So this is not just set dressing as somebody's grandfather's portrait, but an action prop. While we were doing this, we've been doing this for a long time, for many shoots, many sets, for many films, you kind of create these portraits. This one we started shooting near the set because we had these actors only for the day. And everybody on the crew was like, we want our portrait taken. Why are you only shooting them? Why are you only shooting them? All of this was going on. So through that, I seeded an art project, which then became called the Merchant of Images, which has gone now between Jaipur and the Format Photo Festival in Derby and Vancouver and
Goa as well, right?
Goa,
Yeah.
Serendipity,
a couple of
at
years
the
ago.
art fair. And so it's become like this public art project that now actually has become also a private art project. If someone wants it done, then it's an artwork. So basically, I started creating these backdrops in different locations and these foregrounds like contemporary backdrops and creating the photo studio. So if you go through this very fast, just ideas of that photo studio. So it's how art influences film and film influences art. This is an interesting one. It's actually this guy called Martin Parr. He's a very well-known photographer. He's got a book which is only of him at different photo studios. And while I was at the Format Festival in Derby, there was normally there's a person with you, a team, that gives each person who comes to get photographed a board with they have to sign a release that they're okay about their photograph being taken, and also they put their name on so that when we put them into dockets later we know who the person is. And this guy kept asking from behind my head, they kind of stand in a queue, can I have my photograph, can I have my photograph? And I was turned around and like, nobody can have their photograph, it'll be it's part of a public art project. And it turned out to be Martin Parr. So I of course then was like, actually it's kind of a privilege to shoot him because he's been being shot all over. And so it's the sun, the moon, it's different things at different points. So this project needed to be a mobile photo studio that could travel across from area to area. So it should go from like Paranam to Margao Market, and this is in Vancouver. And it's like this dreary cart that gets created, and the entire backdrop and the photo studio travels, because they asked me to do a project between photography, design and documentary filmmaking. And this is a combination of all three, because you chat with them, you make the design of the cart, you chat with the people who you're photographing, because it's not a selfie, it's just you sit down and you photograph somebody, and then the print that comes out is the artwork. So this project has also been influenced, it's like a film, it's been influenced by my film practice. For the last 20 or 30 years, I've been collecting or photographing the street and all the kind of advertising, signage, the last mile, I would say, very often when people are using this as a tool to see whether it's a tailor shop or a footwear shop, in the form of advertising, but hand painted. And so now I have a book that is called SADAK, and it's taken off these years of work, which is from the street. And for me, it's I started to also do it because I needed to create sometimes a marketplace with 50 shops, and you have 4 painters. But you don't want them all to paint all the signs to look identical to each other. And so you're also showing them reference material, and I also loved it, and I went to live away from India, and I missed it, and I think there were many reasons why. Then I started painting with the painters, and every production designer will have photographs, I'm sure, that they use as reference material. And now it's kind of like it's just my work actually that is now kind of going on, even though I'm doing much less production design. I'm continuing with this.
And it's kind of a dying art completely.
Yeah, it's getting vinylized. I think in 10 years, it's going to be really sad, but all the painters are becoming radium, working with radium and vinyl and light boxes, and it's kind of like the way that the Bombay Bollywood poster or the poster has died. I mean, now everything is being created by the Nanda brothers, not by or whoever else like that. So all that hand painting is gone, and I think this will also go. The circus.
It's also really sad when the local pawn shop like suddenly puts a Coca-Cola sign.
Even in Mapsa market, if you can see, and you can see the newer stuff now overpowering the older stuff. But the original lettering and all, there's so much of diversity, there's so much style, different kinds of fonts. It's amazing.
And also what people don't realize, that the street painter, I mean, it's a male domain because obviously they've been working, the sign painters have been working a lot on the street, but their sons are not doing it, but they also have a Guru Shishya Parampara, which we don't talk about, like the music gharanas or the gharanas of like miniature artists where people work. These guys also start by just doing astar, and then when they can shade better, they do fonts, and where it is not as rigorous, I would say, but they all have an ustad or a guru, and so one forgets about all of that, and I see it as an art form, and I feel like it's not graffiti, it's advertising, but it's really important for the brush strokes of our city to make it sort of softer, I think, to have this.
Thank you guys, thank you so much for that. It was illuminating. I'll sum up later, but yeah, let's have a clap for these two.